Welcome back to another Figma tutorial. In today's video, we're going to be learning how to use auto layout like a boss in Figma. Now, I'll be showing different examples of how you can use auto layout and where can it be actually implemented, just so that we also understand the real world application of auto layout in Figma. But before we jump into today's video, make sure you're subscribed to my channel and hit that bell button so you stay updated with all my latest videos. So without further ado, let's just jump into it. So first of all, we're going to be jumping right into Figma over here. As you can see that I have set up my screen and everything. So I'll be starting by creating a simple button using the auto layout, and I'll be comparing that how we would create it without using any auto layout as well. So if I were to do it a normal way, like in traditional way without using auto layout, for an example, how would I do it? It's like I'd create a box first, okay, or using a rectangle, and then I'm gonna make it a stroke. Actually, I'm not gonna have any kind of fill color inside of it. And then I would probably put some border radius over there, so I'll put like 15 pixels to this. And once that is there, I just copy these out so that I have two separate ones. So and then I'll just make this button slightly bigger, the rectangle, and then put it there. This is what I would do if I weren't using auto layout. Now then I just group it up and use it as usual. Now when we do this, there comes a lot of problems. When you want to write more text in, you would see that it's not expanding or anything. So by the meaning of that is that it's not responsive. Your button is not responsive. So there would be a lot of times you're using the same thing, but when you're having different text, you'd have to increase the size and stuff. So instead of doing all those things that we just did, there's an easier way for us to do it. So first and foremost, I have the button text and then the icons. So I'll select both of these and then I'll right click and then add an auto layout to it. It's as simple as that. So over here, if you come to our right side, you see something called auto layout. We have this section over here with different stuff. So I'll come from the first thing. It has a direction, so you can choose whether if the elements inside of your auto layout is going to be aligned vertically or horizontally. So if I were to align it vertically, it would go down, and horizontally like this. Then if you notice, the spacing that I had before is now registered over here under the auto layout with the horizontal spacing between the items. It's like 66. Okay, so you can reduce it, you can increase it, you can do it like that instead of clicking on it and moving it. You can still do that, but yeah. And then we have something called padding. So as you know, padding adds gaps in our around our items. So we're going to use horizontal padding, so add paddings on both the sides. And then if you want to add vertical paddings as well, you can add it as well. So that's amazing. So we'll be looking at the features of this, what are the benefits of this as we go as well. So I'll be actually reducing the spacing a bit more. So just to clarify, one more thing is that you see all of these alignments over here. This also has a specific meaning to it. So now all my elements are actually aligned to the top left side of it. And then what I'll be doing is I'll be just adding padding to this thing, right? So once I have a padding set according to my needs, I'll go down over here and then I'll add a stroke to this. Now, as you can see, that it already adds a stroke rather than creating a rectangle or whatsoever. So I'll put a border radius to it, and that's all that you need to do. Now, let's say if you wanted to add more text to it, you can go ahead and do that, and it'll be automatically dealing with the sizing of it because it hugs your content. So when we create an auto layout, it also has this thing called frames where you can adjust whether if it should have a fixed width or hug contents. When you hug contents, it will just hug your contents basically as per the word says. If you also wanted to instead of doing this, if you also wanted to maybe for some reason make the text grow height wise, you can also just select your text and then choose auto height. What this would do is if I were to add any more text, it would just make your button responsive and move the text downwards. Now, after we have this button ready, I hope that you guys understand the basics of at least how auto layout works and how we can implement it for this case. So now we're gonna go to a bigger example to see that how would we actually implement it in a real life scenario. And for that, we're going to be creating a card, basically displaying a Nike shoe, and yeah, it's going to be showing its price and stuff like that. So I'm gonna bring the picture first to my frame itself. So I'll actually put this button aside for now. Now, as we can see that we have a picture over here, and what we want is basically we're going to be using this picture inside of a card. I'm satisfied with the sizing over here, so I won't be putting inside of any shapes. So what I'll be doing is first and foremost, since it's going to have these a border radius, I'm going to be adjusting the border radius for the top part. Okay, so yeah, I have like 30 pixels over here. And then what I'll be doing is like, I'll be creating a rectangle. If you want to create a rectangle, you can. But for this example, we won't be creating a rectangle. We're just going to be creating text. I'll tell you why. Because like, as you saw over here that we weren't creating a rectangle. So what I'll be doing is I'll be creating a text called Nike Air Max. So this would be the first text, which would be saying, and this is basically going to be showing our title of the shoe name basically, and I'm gonna be putting it to bold. Probably increase the font size a bit more. Yeah, that should be good. Fine. All right, so once we have that ready, what we would be doing is we would be making a few more elements over here. So the next thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be adding a description to this, and then we're going to be having some kind of money, the amount of the shoe, like basically how much does it cost, and then a few colors. That's what we usually see in the Nike's website and stuff. And over here I'm gonna be putting, this is a new shoe, so basically I'll be showing a tag, it's new, and then there will be a like icon as well, so they can favorite this thing in your shopping list. All right, so we're gonna be doing this entirely using auto layout itself. So I have my first text ready over here. The next thing that I'll be doing is I'll be creating another text and calling it new. For this one, I'll be going with another font because this would look like the button to me. So yeah, I'll be just going with, okay, now say with bold, I'll be making this like 15 pixels, perhaps a bit more, 20. Yeah, so once I have this ready, I'll be creating an auto layout for this as well. So let's start with this one first. We create an auto layout. Why am I creating an auto layout? Because I want a background surrounding this thing. So I'll be probably making the padding a bit lesser here. And once we're happy with that, I'm just gonna assign like a border radius to it. I'm gonna go to fill. I'm gonna choose a color over here. Yeah, something like that. So I'm not happy with the padding. I'm gonna adjust it a bit more. Let's say maybe top as well. I mean the vertical. Yeah, I'm happy with this now. So I'm gonna select this text and I'm gonna color it to white. Okay, so great. We have our button ready as well over here. I'm gonna probably make it a bit more, yeah, like that. And then we're gonna be having an icon, as I said before. So I'll be copying my icon, so it's gonna look like this. And for this one, I'm gonna first make it black. Now for this one as well, I want to have like a background in the behind it. So what I'll be doing is, again, simply I'll be just right clicking it and adding an auto layout. I won't be creating any other shapes by going somewhere else. So it has to be round. I'm just gonna put it 100 for now. Go with a fill color as you like, and then I would be going with, for an instance, at this moment, I'll just keep it at this because my card color background is gonna be black, so I'll be adjusting with it later. So for the pad stuff over here, what I'll be doing is basically I'm gonna be putting fixed width for all of these because it has to be like a circle to me. Yeah, just like that. Now if you notice over here, the icon is actually aligning to the top left side and we want it to be centered. So if you do this, it will come to the center, but not horizontally. So in order for us to bring it horizontally over here, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going back here and putting it into the center. Now that's all we need to do. After once that's done, I'm going to put it here. Okay, I think I can actually make the icon size a bit more smaller. Okay, perhaps that's fine. I'll leave it as it is at this moment. Okay, so the next thing that I'll be doing is we have all of these ready right now. So I'll be using an auto layout for this. So first off, before using auto layout, you have to understand that how are you going to be organizing them in your layout itself before adjusting with auto layout. Otherwise, it's going to be confusing you. What I mean by this is like create a blueprint of how would you actually organize these items first. If you notice, like while I was doing this thing subconsciously, I was aligning it itself. Now I'm just like tweaking a bit more to understand that where these items should be. So over here, from here, you can make a quick judgment that this Nike text, the title, and this new is gonna be quite close to each other. And actually, yeah, this will be close to each other, and then we have this icon over here which is going to be far more to the right side, so we can see that the distances between these gaps between these items are not consistent. So if you were to select all of these and apply auto layout to it, you'll see that all of the spacing between them becomes the same, and it's going to be like that. So in order for that not to happen, we're going to be using auto layout twice. So we're going to be first selecting these two items and add an auto layout to that. And as you can see that we have our spacing as it was intended to. Then we're going to be selecting this entire auto layout and this auto layout and add an auto layout to it. As simple as that, so that we can maintain their own gaps instead of like, you know, choosing it. And yeah, again, I'll be just aligning it to the center vertically. And now as you can see that we have this, we can adjust the spacing according to our need. If you want to adjust the spacing for this as well, we can adjust it accordingly. Now the next thing that we're going to be creating a text for is basically what kind of shoe this is. So I'll say Nike, I think I will, yeah, okay, I'll just say men's shoes. Okay, that's like a category basically, that's what I'm going to be calling it. Okay, so I'm going to be using the same font right, and then I'm going to make it regular size. I will be actually making the fill color a bit not like completely black. This is font size as well. And yeah, because I don't want it to be that noticeable. And as we go, again, as I say, make sure you're aligning it properly so that you don't have to deal with auto layout later, how you're gonna organize it. As you go, do it instead. Right, so once we have the men's shoes over here categorized, and now the next thing we're gonna be having is the pricing itself. So let's see how we're gonna be putting the pricing. Actually, I'm gonna be using the same text. I will just copy paste it. And if you notice, when I copy this item and paste it, automatically puts it in the auto layout, which is pretty sick. But yeah, in this case, I do not really need it, so I'll just drag it out and I'll bring it here. Then I'll put like, you know, $300 perhaps. Then I'll be just aligning it as we go. Now, once we have these ready, we're gonna be what we're gonna be doing next is basically we're gonna be putting these all together. Right, now as you can see that we have this stuff, I'll add one more for our color. So I'll just create a shade. If you went to every Nike's website, or did you see that how they represent their colors, and also I'll be doing just that. I'll be creating like maybe like 4 circles with different colors. So as you can see, I created 2 colors. Notice how I created these, right? Now the next thing I'll be doing is I'll be just selecting them and putting an add an auto layout to it. Now notice when I click this one and select this one specifically, Control C and Control V, as I told you before, it's going to add it automatically to the auto layout. Figma is smart enough to do that. Now I'll just change the colors as well for this, and then I'll be putting maybe this color seems nice. yeah, so these 4 shades would be available technically for the shoe. That's what we were trying to say. Now we're gonna be adjusting the spacing as according to your needs, which is pretty sick again. So yeah, once this is adjusted as you want. Now, one more really cool thing about Figma is that if you don't want it to be aligned horizontally, you want it to be vertical for some reason from some requirement changes, you can do it just by a button click in the auto layout. Yeah, so which is pretty cool in my opinion. Now, after we have the pricing and all set up, I'm gonna be again working on the layout a bit to just see how it's gonna be. By the way, your horizontal layout doesn't really matter in this case for now, because when we add an auto layout to overall all of these, it's gonna be just putting them together. This one's just more towards focusing on the vertical alignments. So I think I am happy with how this kind of looks like right now. So while I'll be doing it, I'm just going to be aligning these one together. So as again, you see that there is an inconsistency between the vertical height now. What I'll be doing is I'll be aligning these two first together. So I'll put an auto layout for these. As you can see that they have like a 6 gap between them. And then as you can see that this and this is also different. So I'll add an auto layout to these 3. Now as you can see that this gap is completely independent and doesn't rely on that. And then you'll also select this, right click, add an auto layout to it. So once you have an auto layout adjusted to that itself, you can see that everything is fine. You don't have to do with anything else over here, which is great. Now I want to mention one more thing over here is that what if you wanted to actually align this icon over here all the way to the end. Basically right now I'm just putting a gap between these items, and by doing that I'm determining that like, yeah, that's gonna be the gap. But what if we wanted this icon to be just at the end of a card, okay, instead of like putting a padding itself? So we'll be seeing that shortly to get a better understanding. So what I'll be doing first is that I'll be creating the background of the card itself first. Now, as I know it's gonna be black card, I'll be actually selecting my texts first, and I'll be making these white instead. Select this, change the fill to white, change the fill to white, change the fill to white. Yeah, once these are done, I'll be just selecting this, and as I have added an auto layout to it already, I'll be putting a full color over here. I'll be going with straight up black for this one. And then what I'm gonna be doing is that I'm just gonna be like, you can add your own padding and all, so that it doesn't look very weird over here as it looks right now. So yeah, I'll just put like first, make sure it touches that point, and then adjust it according to this size. Yeah, once this is done, I'm gonna be also working on the top padding as well, and then the vertical ones. And yeah, I think I will be adding it dynamically so that the top one is not more than the bottom one. So yeah, I think it could do a bit more padding on these sides basically. So yeah, for that, okay, so as I was talking about this part, about this example, right? So if I were to now increase, it would be there, but it's increasing the card size. So instead of doing that, to make it respect the spacing between the card itself, like always be at the end, what we can do is we can just make this auto, and if you notice when we make this auto, it will always go to the end, but our width size would become fixed. Okay, so what that means is like if our width is like here, it won't be adjusting with that. It's just to put this element at the end. So like, let's say if you were to increase your card size, you would have to select this, and you'd have to make this grow as well. And yeah, as you make the width grow, it will grow for that one too. Now we're gonna be actually going with not fixed auto for this one. I'm gonna change it back. Okay, yeah. So once we have this ready right now over here, I guess a bit more padding would do justice to this thing. So because it looks too out of the thing, so I'll be first changing this so that I'll bring basically the icons and everything closer, and then I will be adjusting this as so. Yeah. Okay, it should be 28. So yeah, we have that ready now. Okay, so I guess a bit more to the top. Yeah, and we have it looking great already. Now adjust the border radius again for the bottom ones. And yeah, there you go. We have our very own card. Now you can also add out an auto layout for these. So you know, if you want to see it horizontally, yeah, you could do that too. So once we have these ready, I'm not really feeling the gap between these elements and this element. So I'm gonna be real quick adjusting this. Yeah. This looks better in my opinion. So yeah, I'm also gonna be probably changing this one's color something darker, and then clicking this icon, making it white. Yeah, this looks way better to me. Okay, so this is basically the main deal about your entire thing. So you know, if you want to add more text to this, the card would also expand with it. It's just that if your image was also bigger, it would also, you know, extend with it. This is how it works. Now if you were to add more elements to that, to this entire thing, you can also do that. For an instance, if I wanted to, I'll actually first change these two colors, make it white. That same goes for the stroke as well. So let's say if they wanted to have your requirement changes, they wanted to have a button inside of the card as well, you can just, you know, put a card inside of it just like that, and then obviously it's falling under this auto layout spacing. But yeah, you can adjust it as you want to. Now we will be just selecting these two for an example. I'm gonna be making the size somewhat like 15. It should be just hug content. Yeah, and we're good to go. I'm just gonna be fixing the spacing a bit more here, a bit more perhaps, and again fixing the font sizes a bit more, and that's all you need to do, you know. So if you had to add a button to this as well, you can just do it simply like that instead of like messing and, you know, going through this tedious process of adding it again and again and stuff. So this is how you can create amazing layouts for your thing. Just remember that while you're doing it, make sure you organize those texts or whatever it is first, and then adding an auto layout to it. It will, trust me, save a lot of time for you. So that's all for today. Hope you learned something new. And if you like my video today, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Tschüss!